The deletion request completed normally. The archive counter dropped by 1. The file path stayed on the screen. Nobody reacted immediately. Deep Space Archive systems lost synchronization all the time. One operator refreshed the directory again, while another kept tracking overnight routing traffic beside a terminal still running green text over black menus. The file disappeared for less than a second. Then the timestamp updated itself again. Accessed 1 second ago. No user session attached. Nobody in the room was arguing about the recording anymore. They were arguing about which monitor was still telling the truth. At 11:14 local time, the second purge finished successfully. An operator cleared the confirmation window and waited for the routing table to refresh. The file path remained on the screen. Nobody reacted immediately. The room was still running its normal overnight cycle inside the Deep Space Archive Center. Cooling fans, status lights. One technician eating from a paper container beside an old monitoring terminal that still used green text over black menus. Someone refreshed the directory again. The file disappeared for less than a second. Then the timestamp updated. It was not restored or duplicated. The path was simply active again. They assumed the cleanup had stalled across mirrored servers. Distributed sync delays happened all the time inside older NASA archive systems, especially when remote observatories were still pulling cached references from disconnected networks. A second operator manually pushed the deletion through again. The command completed successfully. The archive counter dropped by 1, but the routing path stayed alive. Now the metadata was changing faster. Accessed 3 seconds ago. Accessed 1 second ago. No user session attached. One technician leaned closer to the screen and repeated the verification procedure by hand instead of using the automated cleanup script. The path should have collapsed after the second purge. Instead, another reference appeared underneath it. Classified dependency retained. Nobody in the room remembered seeing that line attached to the Sedna archive before. The deletion log showed the file as gone. The network kept behaving like it was still there. The Sedna archive cleanup entered automated repair mode 6 minutes later. That should have stabilized the network. Instead, new references started appearing across backup mirrors that had never directly stored the file. One routing panel showed 4 active paths, then 7, then 11. An operator pushed his chair away from the terminal and called for containment before the indexing system spread the references farther into public observatory nodes. Nobody moved immediately. Another team argued the opposite. If they interrupted synchronization now, they could destroy evidentiary continuity across the archive chain. The file itself was already gone. What mattered was preserving the repair logs before they started overwriting each other. For a few minutes, the room settled into something almost ordinary again. People compared timestamps. Someone printed physical verification sheets because the older monitoring software kept refreshing too fast to track manually. A technician walked between terminals carrying handwritten node addresses while the automated repair system continued reconnecting dead links in the background. That was when they believed they finally understood the problem. A repair conflict. The cleanup system kept detecting broken references and rebuilding them automatically from surviving mirrors. Delete the file. The network restores the path. Delete the path. Another mirror rebuilds the citation index. The process looked irritating, but technically familiar. Then the classified linkage expanded. Not a single line anymore. An entire hidden routing branch unfolded underneath the deleted Sedna archive, like the network had been waiting for the damage to expose it. One screen showed empty black space for almost 5 seconds before the index finally populated. Reference chain retained. Restricted observational dependency active. The file no longer existed. But the archive kept rebuilding systems around the gap it left behind. The Sedna archive remained online through the rest of the night. Nothing else rebuilt. No new routing branches appeared. No additional mirrors activated. The repair cycle slowed into normal verification intervals, and the monitoring room relaxed with it. Green indicators stabilized across the server wall. One technician finally shut down the manual print queue that had been feeding paper across the floor for almost an hour. Another reopened the automated synchronization panel they had disabled earlier during containment discussions. For the first time since the deletion started, the system behaved predictably. The recording stayed erased. Search attempts returned empty. Playback requests failed immediately. Even the corrupted metadata fields stopped refreshing. An operator sitting beside the archive router began clearing incident notes from the live board, one line at a time, while somebody else ordered coffee for the incoming morning shift. People started trusting the behavior again. The network no longer looked infected or unstable. It looked disciplined, like it had completed recovery exactly as designed. But one line never disappeared. A short object code remained attached beneath the deleted Sedna archive. 8 characters. No description. No linked file. No visible access level. Just a classified dependency marker sitting alone inside an otherwise empty directory tree. Someone tried severing it manually. The command completed successfully. The line remained. They tried disconnecting the parent index instead. 3 backup mirrors quietly reconnected the relationship during the next synchronization pass. Not the file, the relationship. An operator stared at the screen for several seconds before opening the dependency map again by hand. Nothing returned except the same isolated code reconnecting itself across the archive structure, like the system considered that relationship more important than the deleted recording it originally belonged to. The room stayed calm. Cooling fans, verification cycles, green status lights reflecting across old terminal glass. And underneath all of it, that one classified reference kept reappearing in exactly the same place. The Sedna archive looked different depending on which terminal accessed it. At first, they blamed synchronization delay again. One recovery console showed the classified object code attached beneath an empty directory. Another showed additional telemetry references branching outward from it. Archive control saw nothing at all. Just a clean deletion log with no active dependencies remaining. An operator called across the room asking another team to confirm what he was seeing. They walked over carrying printed verification sheets from the earlier repair cycle and stopped beside his terminal for almost a full minute. The code was there. Stable. Connected. When they returned to their own station, the relationship had vanished again. Nobody understood which screen was wrong. That changed the atmosphere immediately. People stopped speaking in conclusions and started speaking in locations. What terminal are you on? Which mirror are you reading from? Who refreshed last? A security supervisor entered the room and requested direct access through a restricted monitoring node normally isolated from archive operations. His display showed a sealed attachment marker linked to the classified dependency code. No telemetry. No routing branches. Just a locked object relationship with active clearance protection still running underneath it. The recovery team saw something completely different. Their terminal showed ghost synchronization traffic continuing to move through disconnected observatory mirrors, like some part of the archive was still exchanging information after the recording itself had already been erased. Archive control still insisted the event was finished. According to their system, the network had stabilized hours ago. An operator sitting beside the central routing panel quietly began photographing screens with a handheld camera, because screenshots no longer matched between terminals during internal transfer. That was the moment recovery stopped meaning
Prepare the
restoration.
final realization. The archive
Nobody could
is
agree
stable,
on what state
but
the archive was
reality
actually
is no
in
longer
anymore.
Singular.
One system showed containment. Another showed active dependency protection. Another showed continuing movement through dead links that should not still exist. The room stayed physically calm. Low fan noise. Green indicators. Coffee cups beside stable keyboards. And across the monitoring floor, different terminals kept showing different versions of the same deleted archive.